My boss fired me in front of the entire team. What he didn't expect was I was a reason his biggest client stayed. I didn't work in some small-time office. This was real sales, high-ticket contracts, six-figure deals, clients that didn't just sign papers. They built long-term partnerships. And for almost 3 years, I was right in the middle of it, not just as an employee, but as the person who made things work. I wasn't the loudest guy in the room. I wasn't the one constantly trying to impress management. I didn't need to, because when it came to results, I delivered, while others were chasing easy leads. I handled the difficult clients, the ones who asked too many questions, the ones who almost walked away, the ones who had been burned by other companies before, the kind of clients that could either make your quarter or destroy it. And somehow I always closed them, not because I pushed harder, but because I understood something most people in sales ignore. People don't buy from companies. They buy from people they trust. Over time, something started to change. Clients stopped asking for the company. They started asking for me. Hey, is he available? Can I speak directly with him? I only want him handling our account. At first, I thought it was a good thing. I mean, that's what every company wants, right? Strong relationships, loyal clients, consistent revenue. But I didn't realize something important. What's good for the business isn't always good for your boss's ego. His name was Richard, mid-40s, always dressed sharp, the type of guy who believed he built everything himself. And to be fair, he did build the company. But what he didn't understand was building something and keeping alive are two different things. At first, Richard praised me publicly. In meetings, he'd say things like, "This is what excellence looks like. Learn from him. This is how we retain high-value clients." But over time, the tone changed, subtle at first, then obvious. He stopped mentioning my name, started taking credit for wins. And whenever a client praised me, he would interrupt, redirect the conversation, make it about team effort. I noticed it, but I ignored it because I thought, as long as the money is coming in, who cares? That was my first mistake, because in corporate America, money doesn't protect you. Power does. And I was starting to gain the wrong kind of attention. One morning, everything changed. It was a regular team meeting. Nothing unusual. Same conference room, same people, same routine. Coffee cups on the table, laptops open, sales numbers on the screen. I remember feeling calm, confident, because the previous quarter, I had closed one of the biggest deals in company history, a contract worth over $1.2 million. And that client, they were already talking about expanding. So when Richard walked in that morning, I expected recognition, maybe even a promotion discussion. At the very least, respect. Instead, he sat down, looked around the room, and then looked directly at me. "We don't need you anymore." At first, I thought I misheard him. The room went silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I let out a small laugh. "Wait, what?" He didn't smile, didn't explain, didn't hesitate. "You're no longer a fit for this company." Just like that. No warning, no performance review, no conversation. In front of everyone. And the craziest part? No one defended me. Not my coworkers, not the managers, not even the people who knew exactly what I contributed. Because in that moment, everyone understood something. If it could happen to me, it could happen to them. I didn't argue, didn't raise my voice, didn't give him the reaction he probably expected. I just nodded, closed my laptop, and said, "All right." I packed my things slowly, not because I needed time, but because I wanted to feel the moment. 3 years, late nights, closed deals, saved accounts, built trust, all reduced to a single sentence. "We don't need you anymore." As I walked out of that office, I didn't feel angry. Not yet. I felt something worse. Clarity. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The attitude shift, the lack of recognition, the subtle tension. It wasn't about performance. It was about control. And I had unknowingly taken too much of it. That evening, I sat in my apartment, No job, no plan, just silence. Then my phone rang. I looked at the screen and immediately recognized the name. One of my biggest clients. I hesitated for a second, then answered, "Hey, I heard what happened." Of course they did. News travels fast in business, especially when it involves someone important. "What happened?" he asked. I leaned back in my chair, thought about everything, and then said something simple. Let's just say, I'm no longer with them. There was a pause. Then he said something that changed everything. "So, who's handling our account now?" I smiled, because I already knew the answer. "Not me." Another pause. Longer this time. "That's a problem." Right there, in that moment, something clicked, not in a dramatic way, not like in movies, but in a quiet, dangerous way, because I realized something most employees never fully understand. The company didn't own those relationships. I did. That trust? I built it. Those conversations? I had them. Those deals? I closed them. So when he asked, "Can you still help us?" I didn't answer immediately, because I wasn't just thinking as an employee anymore. I was thinking like someone who had just been pushed out and finally saw the bigger picture. "I can," I said. And just like that, the game changed. That night, more calls came in. Different clients. Same question. "Are you still managing our account?" And every time, I gave the same calm answer. "Not anymore, but I'm available." And the response was always the same. Relief, followed by interest, because to them, I wasn't just a salesperson. I was the reason things worked. That's when the ideas started forming. Not out of revenge, not yet, but out of opportunity. Because if multiple high-value clients were already reaching out, without me saying anything, without me promoting anything, then what would happen if I actually made a move? I didn't sleep that night, not because I was stressed, but because my mind was racing. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking like an employee. I was thinking like an owner. And one question kept repeating in my head. If they trusted me enough to follow, why would I send them back? The next morning, I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to look for another job. I was going to build something of my own. No big office, no investors, no complicated setup. Just me, my experience, and the relationships I had spent years building. Because now, I understood something clearly. My boss didn't fire me because I was useless. He fired me because I was too valuable in the wrong way. And he made one mistake. He thought removing me would weaken me. But what he didn't realize was he had just disconnected the one person holding everything together. And soon, everyone would feel it. The moment I realized clients were choosing me over the company, I knew this wasn't just a comeback. It was a takeover. The next morning, I didn't update my resume. I didn't apply for jobs. I didn't even open LinkedIn. Instead, I opened a blank document and started outlining something simple, a service. My service, not a company yet, not a brand, just a clear offer. I help businesses close and manage high-value contracts without the usual corporate headaches. No fluff, no buzzwords, just results. Because that's what my clients cared about. Not logos, not office space, not corporate titles. Results. By noon, I had already spoken to 3 clients. Not pitching, not selling, just talking. And every conversation followed the same pattern. "So what's going on over there? Who's replacing you? Are they going to be able to handle our account?" I didn't badmouth my old company. Didn't need to, because uncertainty does the job better than criticism ever could. Instead, I said something strategic. "I'm not involved anymore, but I know your account better than anyone." And that's when the shift started. The first client didn't say yes immediately. They hesitated, asked about contracts, asked about risks. But before the call ended, they said something that told me everything I needed to know. "If we were to move, how fast did you take over?" I didn't answer right away, because timing is everything in business. "Give me 48 hours, I said. And that's when I got to work. I registered a business name, set up a basic website, Created a professional email. Nothing fancy, but enough to look legitimate. Because here's the truth most people don't understand. You don't need a big company to close big deals. You need confidence, clarity, and trust. And I already had the most important one. By the second day, 2 more clients reached out. But this time, the tone was different. Less curious, more direct. Are you taking on clients right now? We're not comfortable staying there without you. What would it look like to transition? That word, transition, that's when it hit me. They were already mentally leaving. All they needed was a reason to move. So I gave them one. I positioned it as an upgrade, more direct access, faster communication, better attention, no corporate delays, no middle layers, no confusion, just results. And one by one, they started agreeing, not emotionally, not impulsively, logically, which made it even more powerful. Within a week, the first contract moved. It wasn't loud. There was no announcement, no dramatic exit, just a quiet email. We've decided to transition our account management. But I knew what it meant, because that one client was responsible for nearly 20% of my old company's revenue. And now, they were mine. That's when things started happening fast. More calls, more interest, more movement. And then I got the message from Richard. Call me. Just 2 words. No greeting. No explanation. I stared at it for a moment, then put my phone down, because for the first time, I had something he didn't. Leverage. That same afternoon, another client confirmed their move. Then another, and another, by the end of the second week. For major accounts had either left or were in the process of leaving. And these weren't small deals. We're talking hundreds of thousands. Some pushing into 7 figures annually. The kind of clients that don't just affect numbers, they define the business. That's when I heard what was happening inside my old company. A former coworker reached out. Things are bad. I asked how bad. He paused, then said, emergency meetings every day. Richard is losing it. I could picture it. The pressure, the confusion, the realization. Because now he was facing something he didn't anticipate. It wasn't just about losing me. It was about losing control. And in business, control is everything. Apparently, they tried assigning new reps to my accounts. It didn't go well. Clients complained. Communication broke down. Deals slowed. Some accounts went silent. Others started asking difficult questions. And the worst part? They kept mentioning me. Where is he? Why wasn't this communicated properly? We only worked with him. That's when Richard tried calling again. This time, more aggressively. 3 missed calls. 2 voicemails. I finally listened to one. His tone had changed. Gone was the confidence, the authority. Now, there was urgency. We need to talk. This is getting out of hand. I almost laughed, because I remembered something clearly. The way he looked at me, the way he said, we don't need you anymore. And now, he clearly did. But I didn't call back, because this wasn't personal anymore. It was business. And in business, timing matters more than emotion. Instead, I focus on scaling. I brought in a freelance assistant, then another contractor, not employees. Not yet, just enough support to handle the workload. Because now, I wasn't just managing clients. I was building something real. And the numbers? They were starting to speak for themselves. Within 3 weeks, I had replaced my old salary. Within a month, I doubled it. And I wasn't working more. I was working smarter. Direct relationships, better margins, no corporate overhead, just value. That's when the final message came in. From Richard, this is your last chance to fix this. I stared at it and realized something powerful. He still thought this was something I did to him. But the truth, he did it to himself. He removed the one-person clients trusted and expected everything to stay the same. That's not how business works. And soon, he was going to learn that the hard way, because what he thought was a small decision was about to cost him everything. He thought Firing me would protect his company, but it exposed the one thing he couldn't replace. By the time the 4th week hit, the damage was no longer quiet. It was visible, public, and impossible to ignore. Because in business, there's one thing you can't hide for long: revenue loss. And my old company was bleeding, not slowly, not subtly, fast. The kind of drop that forces questions, forces pressure, forces accountability. And Richard? He was running out of answers. I didn't need insider information anymore. I could see it from the outside. Clients I hadn't even contacted started reaching out, not asking questions, not exploring options, ready to move, because by now, the pattern was clear. The service had dropped. The communication had weakened. And the results? They weren't the same. And deep down, they knew why. Because the one person who used to hold everything together was gone. And now, he was building something stronger. On the outside, with them. One client said something that stuck with me. "We didn't leave because of them. We left because of you." That line? That was power. Not forced. Not manipulated. Earned. By the 6th week, the shift was complete. Most of my major accounts had transitioned. Not all at once, but steadily, like dominoes. And each one made the next decision easier for the others, because nobody wants to be the last one stuck in a failing system. That's when it finally happened. Richard showed up, unannounced, at a coffee shop near one of our former client offices. I knew why he was there before he even spoke. Desperation has a look, and he had it. "Sit down," he said, not as a command, but as a request. I stayed standing for a moment, then slowly sat across from him. For the first time, the power dynamic was clear. He wasn't my boss anymore. He was just a man, trying to fix a mistake he couldn't undo. "You're hurting the company," he said. I didn't respond, because we both knew that wasn't true. "I built that business," he continued. I nodded. "I know." Then I leaned forward slightly and said something he wasn't ready to hear. B-U-T. Heavy, uncomfortable, because deep down, he knew it was true. "You took clients," he said. I shook my head. "No," I replied calmly. "They chose to leave." And that's the part he couldn't accept, because it meant something bigger. It meant loyalty couldn't be forced. It had to be earned. And once it shifts, there's no getting it back. He tried to offer me a deal. More money, a higher position, equity, everything he should have offered before. But now, it meant nothing, because I wasn't thinking like an employee anymore. I was thinking like someone who had already won. "I'm not coming back," I said. He leaned back, frustrated, defeated, and for the first time, he didn't argue, because there was nothing left to say. The damage was done. And the lesson? Expensive, very expensive. A few months later, I heard the final update. The company downsized, major layoffs, lost contracts, and eventually they were acquired, not for growth, but for survival. And me? I built something better, stronger, not just in revenue, but in control, because now everything I built was mine. No boss, no politics, no sudden decisions, just results and relationships, the same ones that started everything. Looking back, I don't see it as revenge. I see it as correction, because in the end, he didn't lose his business because I left. He lost it because he never understood what made it work. He fired me like I was nothing, but I was the one holding everything together. So let me ask you, if you were in that situation, would you have walked away quietly, or would you have taken your power back? Comment below. I read every single one. And if you want more real stories about workplace revenge, power shifts, money, betrayal, and success, subscribe to Reverend Jicho, where silence turns into strategy and setbacks turn into comebacks. Because sometimes the best revenge is winning.
Thanking you for watching Revenge Echo channel. Like, subscribe, and comment where you are watching from.